Hi everyone, welcome back. I decided to skip a few of the races that I need to still upload. I'll get back to them eventually, but I really wanted to do a team time trial because it's so fun. This is such a great team event, and I really just wanted to get excited about tomorrow's ZRL race with my teammates, so why not do some commentary on last week's team time trial with everyone on Revo. Alright, this is my team, the Galaxy, from Revo. This is just the time zone that we're in and the category that we're in. That's our team name that we break it down into. We have lots of teams racing throughout the day in lots of different categories, but I am part of the Galaxy. So we have 6 of us. There's about 8 of us on the team total, but of course we can't always do every week, and sometimes we just have to make decisions on who's doing what race. 6 are allowed for every race, and it's especially helpful to have 6 for the time trial, as we can have as much draft as possible. Alright, so I'll get into a little bit more of time trial details in a little bit, but just to start off with, this course was a very hard course. It starts us off right away on the reverse petite KOM. So yes, it's a climb. We start right away with this really brutal climb that lasts, I don't know, maybe a good 7 minutes, 8 minutes. And to do it with all of our different strengths and to stick together was a really tricky curveball for ZRL to throw at us, but everyone else had to do it as well. And I think there's like new pack dynamics that we're all getting used to. So just working on getting together. This is our first team time trial of the season too, so a good one to just communicate well and see how things are going. So we've got 6 of us here. I'm currently in 3rd, and we're on Discord, so we're talking about being together and making sure that none of us are falling off the back. You can see I just used my little look behind button on the new Zwift Play controllers to see, okay, how far back are the people behind me, and I want to make sure that we're not going to lose them, because here you can see it's 1% elevation for just a moment in this climb, so this is a good place for everyone to make sure they're together. The draft is actually going to be helping, so really key to stick together. And now you can see we're all kind of clumping back up. Hopefully everyone can use a little bit of draft. We all like to follow behind one of my teammates here, who is just a really strong time trialist, and she's just pulling us right up this hill. We're all trying to survive on her wheel. We're all looking really good. We've communicated super well, so I'll just, while we're going up this climb, I'll give a shout out to all my teammates that were here in this race, and I know we'll be having a few of them join us in later races as well. But for today we had Gret, Sarah, Jennifer, Hega, and Katie. Alright, we're looking really good. We all decided this was a super cruel start and end to the race, because we're going to have this climb at the end as well, this exact same climb. So I guess we're getting a good preview of it here. But what a really hard start. We have to really make sure that we're all staying together. Being a group of 6 coming to the top of the climb is going to be super important, because we're going to want those 6 of us to be able to help each other and rotate throughout the rest of the course, which is predominantly flat. So definitely want to communicate and stick together. This was really hard, but this climb we did such a great job sticking together. I mean, look at that beautiful line, hardly any gap at all. Alright, as you can see, my teammate Gret is still in the front, loving her at TT. and just pulling really strong. She's got super steady watts, and we're just making sure that we're letting her know if there's anyone who needs to chill just a little bit and ease back, or if we're all stay in line really well. I think we held our lines really well. Of course, at this point, we're all just kind of sticking together as best as we can because of the elevation. The draft isn't going to be as great, but later on in the race, when it's flat, it's going to be really good. I really like this new look back feature that I can do. I think it lasts about 3 to 5 seconds. This was something new that even though steering is turned off for the ZRL races, I can still use the Zwift Play controllers for power-ups and for looking behind in a race. So being able to look back and see, okay, I'm moving forward, I'm not going to be able to see the 3 or 4 people behind me now. Now I can look and just make sure that that gap is not opening up, that it's staying really compact, especially when we do get down from the climb and we're doing rotations. I'll be able to look back and see when I'm on the front, am I gapping? Are we all staying together? So super helpful. I talked with Gabby Guerra about this, and she thinks maybe it's just a little bit too long for her liking. This is the only option that I have right now, but she uses Zwift Sauce to be able to do the look back. And we both agree that being able to do that in the team time trial is very helpful. Alright, we're getting some glimpses of the finish. If you look at the little mini map on the top right, you can see off to the left, the road splits, and we're going to take the left split. And there's a red banner. We're going to go through that banner, and that will be the end of the climb. We can see it for a very long time, but this, as we found out at the end of the race, is one of the most brutal, I can see it, but it's not there stretches in Zwift. We do this climb again, so this was at the very beginning. And then we're going to finish on the top of this exact same climb. So we're getting our practice in for this first time through, but we all know we're gonna have to do it a second time. During this race, we also have a DS, that stands for Director Sportif. So it's the team car. It's someone that is not racing, that is on our team on Discord, who is helping us by watching the race. They're basically having the same view that I am, but they might have some different camera angles, but they're watching the race and they're letting us know if there are gaps, or calling out who needs to come through to the front, or who needs to back off the front, or who needs to close a gap. These things are very important for team time trials, as we're all dying and can't necessarily think super clearly. So it's very helpful to have someone tell us what's going on when we can't see, we can't think. Very helpful. So thanks to Taya for being our DS for today. It really helped with this race to be able to have someone encouraging us and letting us know that we're doing really awesome, and a few things that maybe we need to focus on. Alright, we have made it up the climb, and we are all together. I was so pleased with how we all came together really nicely in this big bunch around the corner, because I knew this downhill would be dangerous. We're all relatively similar in weight, but it could be just enough difference that if one person went off the front and maybe a lighter person wasn't quite there or attached, there could be some big separation down this hill. But as you watch us go down this climb, you'll see we are just together the entire time, and it's really awesome. Recovering at this point, I know that I'm going to be a lot more helpful to the team if I can get in a little recovery down this hill. So I'm not really coming to the front, I'm not really pushing hardly any watts right now. I'm just enjoying this downhill effect, and then once we reach the bottom, I'll be good to take some good strong pulls and be able to help glue people in to keep us all together. We're still keeping this clump very nicely. This is a nice long downhill. I was very thankful for this. Now, when we're on time trial bikes, we can actually draft now. This is a relatively recent to Zwift. The concept of the team time trial just became so popular that Zwift made these draftable. However, we cannot super tuck, so there's no point in stopping pedaling completely. You should continue to pedal to keep the momentum going, but we are getting full draft currently, unless of course you're on the front. Alright, I mentioned our DS. One thing that's helpful for our DSs specifically is that we all try to wear something different, whether it's socks or hats or helmets or nothing. So I wore the Aero helmet while some of my other teammates had like an orange cap or a blue cap. And that can help her visually see who is who and let us know if one of us needs to move around or adjust to something. Alright, we're still descending. We're almost to the bottom, but I was just thinking it was pretty nice how long this downhill was. I just looked and we crested the top of the climb at the 8-minute and 30-second mark, and we've been descending for almost 3 minutes now. Alright, we have hit the bottom, so we got almost a 3-minute descent. So if you can see my numbers and my heart rate, it's way down, so I am in a good place to really start helping to work for the team. Looks like we're going ahead and getting our line set up, and we're going to be switching back and forth, calling out how long we want to be on the front and when we're going to be coming off. We usually just use the timer, so we'll say something like, this person is on and I will come off at 12:30. So that way the next person we have a predetermined order, that next person will know to get ready and that they need to come on next. Alright, we should be prepping ourselves, talking on Discord about getting our order started. We still have Gret on the front because she loves a good TT. But I think she's going to give it time, and then our next rider will come up and take her spot, and then we'll start doing the rotations, and hopefully we'll be able to see how well we stuck together. Like I said, I really felt like we did keep a really nice line or very small blob. Everything was like really close together. We hardly had any gaps at any moments, so I think we're going to be able to see that pretty well. I don't know how well our lines were necessarily, but most of the time this gap that you're seeing right now is pretty rare. I'm gonna go close that down real quick and just make sure that everyone has a good draft. And it looks like we just switched front riders. I know I'm next, so I'm gonna go ahead and take that second wheel and just be prepared to do my pull in just a few moments. Alright, here I come on for my first pull. We've been going for 14 minutes now. I immediately look behind to make sure that I'm not going too far off the front, making sure we are all still together, and it looks like we're in a very nice compact group. I think I tried to go a little bit too hard and lost second wheel just a tiny bit, so I backed off just a tiny bit to make sure we were all on. And there we go. We are all very nicely on together and trying to get in a good pull before this little bump. The Aqueduct QOM isn't anything like what we started with. It's a very short climb, but it's just enough that we need to make sure to stick together. So as we round this right corner, we're going to want to make sure we're communicating that we're all together. and that we just kind of stick together. I think it's fine that we blob at this point. There's not necessarily any leader for this section. As you can see, it's just steep enough that some of our avatars are standing up, giving a little effort with maybe some slower cadence, just making sure that we're staying on top of the gears. But we're in such a nice blob. I was really pleased with how this works. Everyone's just working really smoothly together and pushing through. Now we're on a flat section before the last little tiny kick. Alright, last little section, we're going to come around this left corner and it should be totally flat. Now, it levels out here at the top of the aqueduct, so the line itself where the banner is totally flat. I'm going to look behind once again just to make sure. I'm going to try and get in front so that everyone has a clean draft and latch on really nicely to those in front of me. You may have already noticed going through a previous banner that there are no power-ups for this race. They specifically do not allow power-ups, so anything that comes up in that little circle up near the top left will just be what we call XP. So as we continue on Zwift, as anyone rides on Zwift, they gain XP by doing distance. So the more you bike on Zwift, the more XP you gain, and there's levels. And each level, of course, you can attain something cool. Sometimes you unlock something like new shoes or new sunglasses, and oftentimes you'll unlock the ability to buy certain bikes and wheels and maybe different kit as well. The bikes cost drops, so in this top center you see this bar that has all kinds of information. It has our speed, distance already traveled, our time that we've been going. I have also feet gained. And then in race situations, you'll see this blue bar that starts to come across from left to right. That's the distance for the race itself, so you can see what we've achieved and what we have left. Right above the distance remaining is the drop count. So currently at this time I have over 600,000 drops. That's your sweat drops. That's how hard you're working, gaining money to spend on Zwift. So anytime you unlock something or open something up and it cost drops, there's a double. You have to be able to Zwift with time and earn the level to unlock things, as well as your efforts gaining you the ability to buy those things. So something fun about Zwift. Always something to gain. I remember when I first started, there were 50 levels. There are now, I think, 60, maybe 70 levels. So I'm currently at 41, getting close-ish to 42. That's what the little orange bar in that same graphic is referring to. We are still sticking together nicely, but you can see my avatar stood up a little bit. I wanted to make sure that this gap was totally closed and that we were all getting some kind of benefit from the draft. There wasn't any gap that was creating someone to work more than necessary. So now we're all nice and close together. We've gone through another banner, so you can see the little XP symbol come up in the circle like I was just talking about. And looks like I am probably about to go to the front, so we'll see in a few seconds if that's true. Ah, yes, here I go. So I went ahead and looked behind early this time to make sure as I moved to the front, I wasn't going to lose anyone. While I'm on the front, I'm trying to maintain 220-ish watts. I think that was the number that was given to me. So I'm checking to make sure that I'm not dropping people and not surging, but also being able to maintain a high enough number that we're keeping our speed going. So it's a hard balance of making sure that I don't surge. Being a sprinter, that's really hard for me to up the pace but not go crazy. As well as keep the speed, so we don't want to lose any speed within the transition from rider to rider, whoever is on the front, moving back. All right, and then here's going to be my trade-off. I'm going to look back, just make sure that there's no gaps. So I'm going to stay here for just a second just to make sure second wheel is ready to go, and there we are. Look at that beautiful pyramid that we've created. I've heard that the straight line of 6 is the fastest at this point, but I still think surely in the pyramid we're getting some pretty good draft altogether. I definitely felt the best draft if I was third wheel. So right here where I am currently, this was a really hard spot to be, but if I moved up one more wheel, I felt like I wasn't working at all. All right, you'll see I just looked behind. So KC, the team behind us, is actually catching us. They're really fast, and that's cool. So when passes happen in team time trials, it's the responsibility of both teams to do something. So the team passing is going to up their speed a little bit. You can kind of see some of them are jumping up to like 4.5 watts per kilogram to make sure they clear us. Our job is to back off a little bit, so we're doing the opposite. The reason is because the way Zwift has draft, which is relatively close to reality, we could stick with them and it could be really hard to separate, and we definitely don't want to do that. We don't want to help them, they don't want to help us. We want to keep it as fair as possible, so we need to back off to make sure we don't get caught in their draft, and they need to surge to make sure that they, as the passing team, the winning team, is going to clear us and not get stuck in our pace. So it looks like we did a really nice pass. We're definitely behind them now. I don't think we're in any draft currently for sure. So that was a good pass, and we made sure we communicated. I'm sure Casey was also communicating to make sure when they were ready to do the pass. It's never fun when a team decides to pass and like one person says, let's go, and the other 5 weren't ready, so the one person all of a sudden is in the midst of us and the other 5 are still like a second behind us. That's never super great. It happens, and I understand that things happen and you can't always control that, but that was a really good pass. That was a great example of what to do, hopefully from both teams. Looks like we eased up quite a bit and they were able to just go through cleanly without any problems. So we keep our lines going. We're still looking really good, and we'll keep going. We're more than halfway done now with this course. Like I said a moment ago, where I am currently was the hardest place to be. You can see me being at numbers that I should be when I'm on the front, not in the back. I'm easing back just a little bit now to just kind of get into this line and make sure that we're all in a line together, but this was a really hard spot. being in third wheel was so nice. So I'm not sure if it was just the whiplash of not quite being tight or closer to other people. That's why I'm wondering if the pyramid actually is better. I'm not sure, because Zwift, sometimes it looks like they say like when you're next to someone, you're getting more draft if you're like not quite right behind them. So once again, it was really hard to tell, but I definitely liked the third wheel. All right, here I come again to the front, looking behind me, make sure I'm not surging, and all looks good. Still doing a great time. We are still ahead of the team that started in front of us. You can see just at the top of that right list of people, Team CLS is still under a minute behind us, so we have them in our sights, and it's kind of hard to tell now who's behind us, where they are. I think they might be slightly ahead of us, being only a minute and a half back. They should probably be 2 minutes back if we were ahead of them, but that's okay. We're doing our pace, and now it's time for me to come off. My teammate Sarah is going to take over. We have just a little bit of a gap. You could see how we kind of bunched up, and then when it spread out, we didn't quite keep the wheels super well together. But it looks like Jennifer really closed that down on the far left side just to make sure that everyone was together. And Katie right there in the middle, perfect spot, just pulled it right in, and now we're back to this really good group. Everyone's getting benefit from the draft. I mean, look, I'm doing barely 100 watts. And I was just sitting behind people, and we were keeping really good speed. After that initial climb, this course has been super flat. We're about to enter a few rolls. You can see that 4%. Of course, we also had the aqueduct, but the majority of this course, besides that first and what will be the last climb, has been pretty flat. So it's been really nice to just be able to rotate really easily back and forth without any crazy undulations. We're able to just pretty smoothly go forward, move back, go forward, move back. Of course, I say it's easy, and it feels terribly hard at the time, but how it played out, I think we did a really good job of keeping the speed up while maintaining good form between the 6 of us. Like I said, this draft is really good. In just a second, you'll see my avatar's cadence slow up quite a bit, just because I want to stay behind someone. I don't want to come shooting forward. So I've eased back a little bit, and you can see how the avatar pulls back so that it stayed in the draft. And that way, I didn't roll to the front and lose the speed. or the draft, but we maintained the speed because the person on the front was still pushing the number they were supposed to. So now the person, Jennifer, who's in front of me in order for pulling, is on the front. So I'm going to move myself up a little bit more now. Now I'm not going to worry about easing back, because in a few seconds I'm going to be the one who needs to go forward to be the one on the front. But if you are the one in the back and it's your turn to recover, practicing that easing off the pedals and not going forward and timing that can be really helpful for things like time trial, even in normal races like scratch races. Like, if you don't want to be on the front and pulling, you should practice being able to ease off and then get right back on so you don't lose ground, but you also don't get thrown to the front. All right, here I come to the front again. Woohoo! I love how you can see the different colors. Usually when I've been on the back, I've been doing pretty good at staying at blue and green, so I should be recovering. My heart rate's 171. That's not too bad, but now trying to do some red and yellow without being super spiky, making sure that we're together, checking behind, doing the normal thing, still looking really good all together. And I was pretty pleased with my pulls. I think I was able to be really even and maintain. I didn't kill myself. Sometimes I would pull for like 45 seconds to a minute, but then I was like, we should do 30 seconds so that I still have life left for the climb. And I think that was helpful. Definitely wish I could do more time for the team, but we also have to make sure that we balance our time and don't kill ourselves too early, because we still have 4.5 miles to go. All right, at this point, one of our riders is done. She has been such amazing glue for this group. She's just stuck in and always allowed someone to have a draft. Just always making sure that the person in the back is safely in and that there aren't any gaps in the middle. So she's done her job, and we're going to continue the last 4 miles as a group of 5 and just see how we can keep maintaining this speed and rotations until the end. So great job, Katie. Thanks for being in there. You were awesome. Once again, look at these beautiful lines that we're creating. Even when someone's coming off, we maintain this line really well. We want to make sure that the person coming off is not going to get lost in the back, so we're going to make sure that she has a wheel. She's going to catch that 3rd spot, and we're all going to be in such a beautiful line together. Very nice job, team. Alright, we're approaching this Marina Sprint, another banner to get some more XP. I knew when I saw this sprint banner that we wouldn't have too long before the start of the final climb, because it's kind of an ending point. You go through this area and then the road splits, and we're going to go towards the climb instead of going through that kind of same type of loop around the countryside where it was pretty flat again. So it's coming. We have to be ready. And we got a great pyramid shape going on right now too. This is a really good form. All right, here I come to the front, I believe. Oh, I think my teammate Hega is going to take this pull. She's going to get us pretty close to after the sprint. So I think we'll maybe have one more person lead us up until the climb. Alright, so here I come through to the front. I will be pulling us through this Marina Sprint. Not that it makes any difference where it is on the course. But once again, looking behind, still staying really well together. I know we're all dying right now, but making sure that we still have enough energy to get up this final climb. 2.5 miles to go. Looking good. I can tell I'm tired now because after coming off the front and going to the back and looking for that draft, I lost just enough speed and didn't react in time to grab that last wheel, and I had to stand up for just a second to make sure I caught on and got the draft, and I'm almost there. But yeah, sometimes when you're really tired, you just don't react as fast. Your brain isn't working, your legs aren't working, so making sure you stay really focused mentally can be a big challenge, especially when you're trying to stay with your own teammates and still communicate that we need to stay together. We can't lose anyone yet. We need to keep this 5 until we at least get a third of the way up the climb. Alright, and here we go. We have just passed the point of no return. That right turn back there would have taken us around a nice flat loop, but instead we press on towards the climb. So we're going to be hitting this elevation pretty quickly. I'm going to go ahead and kind of fast forward a little bit since you've already seen this climb. At this point you have seen everything so far because the start pens were just a little bit further back. So you've seen all this. We're going to fast forward because who wants to see us climb slowly? I must say, watching our cadence at this speed is very entertaining. So I hope you guys are entertained with this faster speed. It's definitely going to make me feel better about my life and how hard this climb was and how long it felt, especially when we're going to get close to seeing the banner. It's going to feel so long. So this is a great way to view this climb. We're still crushing it during this 1%. I really wanted to make sure we were all together. And we did a great job of doing that. We're getting some draft thanks to Gret and Jennifer just taking us up this climb and looking really good, super solid. Alright, we're still staying so nicely together. That little sharp point back there, we all stood up and really punched through. We've lost a little bit of a gap right here, so we didn't quite communicate this as well as we could have. And I really should just go close that gap. But I'm probably tired at this point. Okay, there we go. I closed the gap a little bit. Whether that was them slowing down or me speeding up. It is closed, and I'm definitely doing my stand up, close, and chill. Stand up, close, and chill. I'm getting some red and green numbers going on there. But at this point, we have lost number 5. So Sarah pulled us through. I don't know if you saw some of her great pulls that she had. She was right after me during the rotation throughout the course, and just super solid pulls. She's had a great start to this season. Super excited, and she really helped close a lot of these gaps at the base of the climb and worked super hard for the team. Now the 4 of us are gonna go finish, and oh, there it is. I can see the finish banner off to the left. So we've all probably seen it and said, there it is, and that we have 0.4 miles left to go. But that does not make this any easier. All right, we're almost there, almost done. Alright, as we're approaching finally this left corner, I know that I'm still dying. Pretty high heart rate for maintaining for me these days. So I'm definitely working hard, and I remember how dead we were all feeling and how cruel this felt at the end of such a long time trial. But just want to say thanks so much for joining in. Definitely loved being able to talk about this team time trial and just seeing the team work so hard together, and we're also encouraging to each other. So such a great team event. Thanks for tuning in and appreciating the awesome work from Revo and watching my videos. Please feel free to drop any comments, any thoughts, any like, wow, that was so cool, didn't know that was a thing, or helpful hints. We would love to have them, and hope to see you next time. Thanks again for watching.